The universe called us exterminators. Humanity showed them true chaos. The galaxy had always been a place of order, with ancient civilizations that had mastered the art of peace. The Altari, a race of hyper-intelligent beings, had studied the cosmos for millennia and had one overarching belief: chaos was the greatest threat to the universe. It was the one thing they feared most, a force that could tear apart their carefully structured reality. To them, chaos was not just disorder, it was an existential risk. And when their scans identified a particular species on a remote planet, they felt they had no choice but to intervene. The humans. Our species had a unique trait, something that made us different from the rest of the galactic civilizations the Altari had encountered. While the Altari revered logic and order, humanity thrived in the midst of uncertainty, adapting to chaos in ways that no other species could comprehend. Every war, every disaster, every setback made us stronger. We didn't fear chaos, we embraced it. The Altari saw this as a potential threat to the fabric of the universe. In their eyes, we were not a species that could be allowed to flourish. We were exterminators of order, capable of destroying the balance of the cosmos simply by existing. They called us that behind our backs, the exterminators. But they were wrong. They didn't understand us. And they didn't understand what chaos truly meant. The invasion came swiftly. Hundreds of Altari ships appeared in Earth's orbit, casting a dark shadow across the sky. Their fleet was vast, technologically superior, and seemingly unstoppable. They had come with one mission: to wipe us out before we could unleash our unpredictable nature upon the galaxy. To the Altari, the choice was simple: extermination or survival. But the Altari underestimated humanity's resilience. We had seen their ships, their weapons, and their grand designs before. They were not the first to think they could dominate us, and they wouldn't be the last. The first strike was a planetary bombardment, designed to cripple our infrastructure. But humanity's response was swift and unforgiving. We didn't just fight back. We turned the invasion into something that the Altari had never witnessed before. Where they saw disorder, we saw opportunity. In a matter of hours, human ingenuity had adapted alien technology to our advantage. A group of brilliant engineers, led by a team from the United Nations, took a captured Altari ship and reverse-engineered its weapons. Within days, the Earth Defense Force was armed with energy cannons that could slice through their shields like butter. The sheer unpredictability of our tactics, attacking from hidden bunkers, sabotaging their supply lines, using old weapons in unconventional ways, left the Altari scrambling. But that was just the beginning. We didn't stop at merely defending ourselves. Humanity, in all its chaos, had a new idea: turn the tables. The Altari believed that order would save them, that their superior intelligence could control the battle. What they didn't account for was that chaos could be wielded like a weapon, and humanity was the master of it. We hacked into their communication networks, flooding their minds with contradictory commands. We released engineered viruses into their systems, turning their own technology against them. But the most terrifying aspect for the Altari wasn't our technology or our strategy, it was our mindset. While the Altari viewed the universe as a system to be controlled, humanity saw it as a game. We adapted, we overcame, and we thrived, not despite the chaos, but because of it. And that was when the universe truly learned the meaning of chaos. The Altari tried to retaliate by deploying their elite shock troops to the ground. But they were unprepared for humanity's unpredictability in close combat. Where they expected precision, they found ruthless guerrilla tactics and ambushes. Where they sought diplomacy, they encountered defiance. Every plan they set into motion seemed to collapse under the weight of human ingenuity and stubbornness. The more they fought us, the more they realized the true nature of humanity. We didn't just survive chaos, we created it. The Altari were not exterminators of order. We were agents of transformation, beings who could dismantle the very systems they believed were inviolable. As the war dragged on, the Altari began to falter. Their once perfect strategies crumbled under the weight of our relentless unpredictability. They tried to flee, but we adapted faster, pursued them with a single-minded ferocity, turning their own war machines against them. In the end, their grand designs of a galaxy under control were reduced to dust. The Altari had underestimated humanity's power, not just to survive, but to reshape reality itself. When the final battle was won, humanity didn't just stand victorious. We stood as something more. We were not the exterminators the Altari had feared, but something far more terrifying, masters of chaos. And the universe? The universe learned the hard way that it was never truly under control. We didn't destroy order, as they thought. We showed them that chaos wasn't something to fear. It was the very force that kept the universe alive, ever-changing, and full of possibilities. We had become its true rulers. The Altari, broken and scattered, left our planet, knowing that humanity was no longer something to be eradicated. We were the force that would shape the future. We were humanity, and we were chaos incarnate. And in the end, the universe would have no choice but to adapt, just like us. The universe called us exterminators. Humanity showed them true chaos. Part 2. The war with the Altari had ended, but it left a wound across the galaxy, and the entire universe watched in stunned silence. The sheer audacity of humanity's victory over a race that had been studying the stars for eons sent ripples through every corner of the cosmos. The exterminators, they had called us. But we had proven something far more significant. Humanity was not an anomaly. We were the force that the universe had been waiting for. But there were consequences. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council, a vast alliance of species that governed interstellar peace, convened for an emergency summit. The Altari had been one of its founding members, and their sudden defeat had shaken the foundation of everything they stood for. The Council's leaders, a coalition of beings from the most ancient and powerful civilizations, could not afford to let what had happened to the Altari happen to them. There was no place for chaos in their universe. And so, they decided to take action. The message came through a hypernet transmission, broadcast directly to Earth. Humanity, you are now a threat to the balance of the galaxy. You will be brought to heel. Either you submit to the will of the Galactic Council, or you will face annihilation. Your so-called chaos has no place in our order. Humanity's response was immediate. The global leaders, once fractured and divided, stood unified. The age of negotiation was over. We had already shown that diplomacy and reason were futile when it came to forces that could not understand the essence of human will. The time had come to make the rest of the galaxy understand who we were. A new kind of war. The Council underestimated us again. Rather than sending an army of fleets to engage us, they attempted to isolate us, to cut us off from the wider universe. A blockade was established around the Earth, cutting off our access to interstellar trade routes and technological assistance. But what they failed to realize was that humanity had already adapted. We didn't need their trade routes. We didn't need their technology. What we needed was the will to push forward, and we had an abundance of that. In the days that followed, the human response to the blockade was nothing short of genius. We built ships out of old tech, salvaging whatever we could find. We repurposed obsolete satellites and mining equipment into weapons of war. But we also did something the Council never expected. We disrupted the galactic order. The same unpredictability that had thrown the Altari into chaos became our greatest weapon. We hacked into the galactic network, spreading misinformation, creating false signals, and causing mass confusion across the Council's fleet. The message was clear: the exterminators were coming, but no one knew where. No one knew how. Every ship that entered Earth's orbit was at risk of being turned against its own creators. The galaxy had underestimated human ingenuity once, and they were about to learn why it was a mistake to do so again. The battle for the future. When the first fleet of the Galactic Council arrived, they weren't prepared for what happened next. The humans who had once been confined to Earth's surface now found themselves with access to the very stars they had been cut off from. Using their own technologies, we created wormholes, short-lived but powerful rifts in space that allowed us to strike anywhere in the galaxy. Our forces, a ragtag band of renegade ships, assaulted Council systems with perfect precision, appearing and disappearing faster than any pursuit fleet could react. The more they tried to isolate us, the more they realized that humanity had already won the war, not with force, but with mind. The battle spread across the stars, but something unexpected occurred. The universe, once ruled by a cold sense of order, began to warp. Planets and civilizations that had long since forgotten what chaos felt like began to experience it again. As human influence spread, other species began to question their own rigid systems. Would they stand with the Council, the self-appointed guardians of order? Or would they join the force that had turned the very nature of the galaxy upside down? It wasn't long before the council began to fracture. The once unified front started splintering as member species began to see the reality. Humanity was not something to be controlled. Humanity had unlocked the true power of the universe, the power of change. In the heat of battle, some species allied with humanity, offering technologies and support. They saw the potential in the chaos that humanity represented, the energy that could catalyze new forms of life and civilization. Others, more conservative and rigid, refused to see the truth. They held on to their old systems, their old beliefs, but they found themselves slipping further into irrelevance. The final reckoning. The war culminated in a final showdown at the heart of the Galactic Council's capital, a planet known as Zentar. It was here that the fate of the galaxy would be decided. A fleet of human ships, now joined by several defecting species, faced off against the remaining loyal forces of the Council. On the battlefield, humanity didn't just fight with weapons, they fought with the very essence of their being. The Council ships were thrown into disarray by a series of chaos bombs, devices designed to disrupt time and space itself. Gravity shifted, communications went silent, and entire fleets vanished without a trace, lost in the maelstrom of human ingenuity. In the end, the Galactic Council was left in ruins. The few remaining factions that clung to the old ways were quickly assimilated into a new order. The humans, no longer the exterminators, were now recognized as the galaxy's true architects, not of destruction, but of rebirth. Humanity had not only proven that chaos could defeat order, we had shown that chaos was the key to progress, to freedom, and to evolution itself. The universe, in all its infinite complexity, had one immutable truth now: humanity was no longer the outsider. We were the ones shaping the future. The Altari had feared us. The Galactic Council had tried to suppress us, but the universe had learned what true chaos meant. It meant growth. It meant change. And in the end, it meant the rise of humanity. Our place in the stars was secure, and the universe would never be the same again. The universe called us exterminators. Humanity showed them true chaos. Part 3. In the aftermath of the Galactic Council's collapse, the stars felt different. The endless hum of interstellar order had fallen silent, replaced by a raw, unfiltered energy that reverberated through the very fabric of the universe. Humanity had not only survived, we had remade the cosmos itself. The once unchallenged forces of order and control had crumbled, and in their place, something new was being born, a universe shaped by chaos, adaptability, and the unstoppable drive of human will. But the chaos that humanity embraced had its own consequences. It wasn't simply about overthrowing the old guard. It was about understanding that with power came responsibility. As we began to influence more planets, more species, the lines between what we had to control and what we had to let go of began to blur. We had shown the galaxy the power of unpredictability, but now we had to decide how far we would push that power. Would we become tyrants of chaos, using our influence to bend the galaxy to our will? Or would we foster a new era, one where freedom and adaptability reigned? The answer wasn't simple. The new Federation. Humanity didn't just establish a new empire, we created a federation. We realized that the galaxy could not be controlled by one species or one way of thinking. The true strength of humanity, and of chaos itself, was the capacity for diversity, for growth, for constant change. The new federation was built on the principle that no species, no world, no individual could be forced into a singular mold. Instead, it would be a place where adaptability was the rule, not the exception, where the chaos that we had once wielded as a weapon would now become a tool for creating a better future for all species. The Federation was not born in a day. It began with humanity and a handful of willing allies, species that had come to understand the power of chaos and the need for change. Planets once under the strict rule of the Galactic Council were offered the choice: join the Federation, with its chaotic, ever-changing promise of freedom and growth, or remain isolated, clinging to the old ways. At first, the reaction was mixed. Some worlds joined willingly, eager to break free from the constraints of order that had stifled their potential. Others, like the Zyrans, a race of highly logical, emotionless beings, rejected the Federation outright, clinging to their old ideals of perfect control and stability. The Zyrans were the last of the truly powerful species to stand against us, and their resistance would be humanity's greatest test. The Zyran Rebellion. The Zyrans, with their cold, calculating minds, had spent centuries perfecting their systems of order. They had seen humanity's rise and feared it as the beginning of an unstoppable tide of chaos that would sweep away their way of life. They couldn't understand us, how could they? To them, unpredictability was anathema to survival. So, they gathered their forces and waged war on the Federation. But the Zyrans had forgotten something crucial about humanity. We had already embraced chaos. We had already adapted to the unthinkable. Our forces were not organized in neat, predictable lines. We didn't follow the same old strategies. Our ships didn't just move in formation. They folded in on themselves, creating multidimensional maneuvers that baffled Zyran fleets. Our soldiers fought not just with weapons, but with tactics that twisted and warped in ways the Zyrans could never predict. We didn't just fight a war against the Zyrans. We redefined what war itself could be. The Zyran Rebellion didn't last long. Their meticulously crafted defense networks were dismantled, piece by piece, as humanity's chaotic approach to warfare outstripped their precision. It wasn't just that humanity had the advantage of unpredictability. It was that we had the advantage of a collective willpower that could never be calculated. The Zyrans were brilliant, yes, but they had never faced the raw, untamed force that humanity embodied. The final battle took place on the edge of Zyran space, a planet they had declared an impenetrable fortress. It was here that humanity's true victory was realized. In the end, the Zyrans were not defeated by superior force. They were defeated by something far more powerful, our adaptability. Their great minds, so focused on structure and order, were simply outmatched by the chaotic brilliance of human creativity. After their surrender, the Zyrans were offered a choice: join the Federation, or be left to live in isolation. As the universe passed them by, reluctantly, they chose to join, not because they liked it, but because they understood that the galaxy had changed. The power of chaos had proven its supremacy. The Galactic Renaissance. With the last of the major opposition defeated, the Federation's influence spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The concept of order, while still present, was no longer the dominant force. The galaxy was entering a new age, an age where innovation, unpredictability, and adaptability would determine the course of civilization. But this new age wasn't without its challenges. As the Federation expanded, new worlds and species began to push the boundaries of what humanity had started. The Federation's chaotic principles didn't always sit well with every species. Some planets embraced the freedom to change, to evolve, but others found the idea of constant flux unsettling. There were revolts, yes, but they were rare, and when they came, humanity didn't crush them with force. We gave them room to breathe, to find their own path, to be a part of the change without being forced into it. The greatest challenge humanity faced in this new era was maintaining the balance between order and chaos. We had fought for freedom, but we had learned the hard way that absolute chaos could destroy as easily as it could create. In our hearts, we knew that chaos didn't mean destruction. It meant growth. And as the Federation expanded, we learned to guide the galaxy through a delicate dance of unpredictability and structure. Our place in the stars was no longer a question. We had proven that we were not just survivors, but creators of the future. The Exterminators, they had called us, but humanity had shown them something far more profound. We weren't here to destroy the universe, we were here to remake it. And in our hands, the universe had found its true purpose, a place of endless possibility, where chaos and order coexisted in a harmony no one had ever thought possible. The universe would never again be the same. Humanity had shown the galaxy what true chaos meant, and, in doing so, we had revealed the ultimate truth: chaos is not destruction. Chaos is life, and life, in all its forms, was about to flourish beyond imagination. The universe called us exterminators. Humanity showed them true chaos. Part 4. The galaxy had shifted once again, and this time, the universe was watching in awe. Humanity's embrace of chaos had not only toppled empires and shattered old orders, it had reshaped the very way civilizations thought about life, progress, and the cosmos itself. Where there once was an unspoken belief that stability was the key to survival, humanity had shown that the secret to thriving was change. It was chaos itself, an unrelenting, uncontainable force that pushed boundaries, created new ideas, and tore down the walls that limited every race's potential. But with power came responsibility. And as humanity's influence spread, so did the understanding that chaos, when left unchecked, could spiral into destruction. The Federation was not a perfect system, far from it. The more we built, the more we saw the consequences of our actions. What had begun as an experiment in adaptability had begun to stretch the fabric of the galaxy itself. The limits of chaos. While many species within the Federation were thriving under the new order, some worlds began to show signs of strain. The constant flux that humanity had brought to the galaxy had its toll. Civilizations that were still learning to embrace change found themselves overwhelmed. Entire ecosystems on newly integrated planets were destabilizing because the Federation had pushed the principles of adaptability too far too quickly. Industries that once thrived in stability were crumbling under the weight of ceaseless innovation and shifting priorities. Humanity, with its boundless energy and ceaseless creativity, had inadvertently unleashed a storm. The balance between chaos and order was delicate, and it was beginning to tip dangerously toward the former. It wasn't enough to merely adapt. Now, we had to learn to moderate our changes, to understand when the chaotic force we wielded should be tempered, and when it should be unleashed. It was a lesson that humanity had to learn, a painful one. We were the architects of a new age, but even creators could falter in their own designs. The Council of Adaptation. In response to the growing concerns, the Federation established a new governing body, the Council of Adaptation, comprised of human leaders, representatives from newly integrated species, and even those who had once opposed humanity's rise. The Council was charged with maintaining the balance between chaos and order. The Council wasn't about stifling the changes humanity had brought to the galaxy. It was about understanding that adaptation required more than just pushing forward relentlessly. It required thought, planning, and consideration. For the first time since humanity had shaken the foundations of the universe, we found ourselves confronted with the realization that true leadership wasn't about disrupting everything in sight. It was about knowing when to disrupt and when to allow natural evolution to unfold. The first major decision the Council of Adaptation made was to impose strict guidelines on the expansion of the Federation. The idea of constant change, while revolutionary, needed to be moderated. Some worlds had embraced the chaos with zeal, while others needed time to adjust. The Federation would slow its pace, allowing planets the space to recover, to rebuild their societies, and to find their own way within the new universe humanity had opened up. But not everyone was content with this new direction. The fracture. As the Federation grew, so did the divisions within it. There were those who believed that humanity's approach to chaos was still too restrained, that the galaxy should be swept into an unstoppable tide of progress and transformation. These radicals, known as the Prometheans, advocated for the complete dissolution of all traditional structures, a radical reshaping of the universe with humanity at its core. They argued that the Federation had lost its way, that the galaxy was slipping back into old patterns of stability and stagnation. On the other side stood the Conservators, species that feared the unchecked spread of chaos. They believed the Federation was spiraling out of control, and the galaxy needed to return to a more stable, predictable form of governance. They saw the Council of Adaptation as a surrender to chaos, a concession to human ideals that threatened to destabilize the entire universe. The stage was set for another conflict. But this time, the stakes were even higher. The very essence of what humanity had fought for, the belief that chaos was a force for progress, was being questioned. A new kind of war. This was not a war of fleets or battlegrounds, but a war of ideas, ideals, and ideologies. The Prometheans and the Conservators clashed in debates, forming alliances with various factions across the galaxy. The Federation was caught in the middle of this ideological civil war, with humanity divided along similar lines. As tensions rose, humanity's very existence was at risk of being torn apart. The war was not fought with weapons but with political maneuvering, subversive actions, and propaganda. Each side tried to convince the galaxy that their interpretation of chaos and order was the right one, and that the future of the universe depended on it. For the first time, humanity's destiny was no longer clear. We had become what we feared most, a species that could not fully control the forces it had unleashed. The galaxy, once a canvas for our bold ideas, now seemed to be slipping into something more dangerous. The very concept of chaos was being weaponized, And in our attempt to liberate the stars, we had created a web of competing factions, each with their own vision of what the future should look like. The choice. In the end, it was not a single battle that decided the fate of the galaxy, it was a choice. Humanity stood at the crossroads, and the decision would define us for centuries to come. Would we return to the Federation's roots, embracing chaos fully and completely, even if it meant the destruction of everything that had once been built? Or would we temper our drive for change, finding a way to live in balance with the cosmos, preserving both the chaos and the order necessary for true progress? The decision was not easy. Leaders from both sides of the conflict met on a neutral planet, the once neutral ground of Zentar, now a symbol of both the past and the future. In a council session that lasted for days, each representative presented their case, but when the final vote was called, humanity, in a rare moment of unanimous decision, chose the path of moderation. The new federation would be a hybrid, one that embraced the chaotic, creative energy of humanity but also recognized the need for balance. Chaos would still be the force that pushed the galaxy forward, but it would no longer be allowed to run unchecked. Order would not be its enemy, it would be its partner. Humanity had learned the greatest lesson of all, that the true power of chaos lies not in its ability to destroy, but in its potential to create, to challenge, and to change. But without the wisdom to know when to act and when to pause, even the greatest force can become a threat. The dawn of the new age. The Federation, now restructured and more unified than ever, began a new era of exploration and cooperation. The galaxy, once defined by stasis and order, was now a place of limitless potential. Species from all corners of the universe had come together under humanity's leadership, not to impose a single vision of the future, but to allow every species to shape its own destiny, in harmony with the universe, in harmony with chaos. The Exterminators, once feared, had become the galaxy's true architect.